colleague, the Minister of Public Works, the Honorable Colonel David Birch, to highlight the Ministry of Youth, Culture and Sports 2022-23 Throne Speech Initiatives. As this is considered to be my first press briefing as Minister, I'm pleased that at this occasion is to discuss our Ministry's 2022-23 legislative plans. Since my appointment, I've spent the last few weeks visiting with members of our national sports governing bodies and attending various community events celebrating our local athletes and creators. On each of these occasions, I have reaffirmed that the Ministry of Youth, Culture and Sports are dedicated to supporting and uplifting our creatives, artistic and sports communities. As we enter a new legislative year, I think it's important to take a look back at the accomplishments from 21-22 Throne Speech. This past year, I'm pleased to note that we were able to complete two key Throne Speech initiatives: the creation and implementation of the National Youth Policy and the creation and implementation of the National Sports Policy. I should also note that since their launch, we have been extremely encouraged by the feedback and engagement received from our stakeholders regarding both these key policies. These policies are active multi-year strategies, and in the months and years ahead, we will continue working towards achieving the key goals that were set out in these plans. Turning to this year's Throne Speech, we intend to advance legislation to codify the nomination process and qualifying criteria for the selection of Bermuda's national heroes. Those recognized through this designation must have given exceptional service, and their lives must have left an indelible imprint on the Bermudian society. The designation of a national hero is a rare honor that is intended to be made all the more distinct by the judiciousness of this selection. Dame Lois Brown Evans was inducted as Bermuda's first national hero in 2009, and an additional 7 heroes have been inducted since that time, with Sir John Swan being the most recently inducted hero in 2016. We announced earlier this year that the nominations for new national heroes will only take place once every 10 years, during the same consistent window of time. Beginning in 2024, nominations will open for a 6-week window, beginning in October, with the naming of the Recognition Committee, provided recommendations to Cabinet by January of 2025. Although nominations are to be open once every 10 years, this is not to imply that a new hero must always be accepted once every 10 years. In some instances, it is expected that no new national hero will be accepted. The benefits of establishing these clear set of guidelines to the public for nominations include helping to emphasize the exceptional nature of the national heroes designation, managing public expectations around the nomination and selection process, and helping to ensure that the selection of a national hero is driven by the established criteria and attributes rather than influenced by any particular set of current events that may not stand this test of time. Since joining the ministry a few weeks ago, I've been incredibly impressed and heartened by the passion and enthusiasm of this team, both in the Department of Culture and the Department of Youth, Sport and Recreation. They all have love for our community, our youth, our arts, and our sports. And they are committed to ensuring the preservation of our culture, heritage, and traditions. It is a vibrant ministry in which it is the heartbeat of Bermuda, and we have much to be proud of. I am humbled to be a part of this team, and I look forward to pressing forward with our legislative plans for the upcoming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Darrell and Minister Birch. At this time, we're going to invite the news media to put questions to the ministers, starting with Minister Darrell. At this time, I'm going to invite Earl Daisy from Islandstats to lead us off.
Good afternoon, Mr. Darrell. You said you've met with and encouraged by the national sports governing bodies. Recently, two votes were taken, because right now we have a handful of national sports governing bodies who are recognized by the ministry, and several that are not. But in two instances, we had the non-compliant looking to vote and take over. What's your take on that?
Mr. Basil, you would know that I did leave the meeting. I was there for the awards for volunteers that have helped these national sports governing bodies. And that was the meeting that I attended, and I was quite pleased to give awards and present awards to those volunteers that assist with national sporting governing sports in Bermuda. As for the politics of your meeting, that was not my remit. I do have meetings coming up with a few sports that are not national sports governing bodies to explain further the criteria of the national sports body, to explain why this Department of Sport has those criteria in place, and to assist them to becoming better positioned to be recognized as legitimate national sports governing bodies in Bermuda. So when you talk about votes and who got to vote, who didn't, I'm way too fresh in this role to actually get into the politics of outside organizations. But I can tell you that it is something that I'm very much interested in learning more about and assisting in getting more people recognized to represent Bermuda worldwide.
Right. Next question is the National Sports Center, the upgrade of the facility, the solar facility. How are we on time? Are we behind? What's the program with that?
The National Sports Center Energy Project is progressing quite nicely, and someone from the ministry will be reaching out to you shortly, because within the next week I will actually be on site. You would know that I was the former chair of the National Sports Center, so that is something that I'm very much aware of, and it is progressing. You've seen videos going around. As far as being on time, considering all that we've had to go through the last couple of years, I am pleased with the progress, and more importantly, once we do have that press conference, I think all of Bermuda will be pleased with the savings that we are seeing already with some of the remediations that have been done.
That's it for me. Yeah.
Okay, next up is Jonathan Bauer from the Royal Gazette.
Okay.
Thanks. Good to see you, Minister. Thanks for having us. Yeah, okay. I wanted to start with this one. So you've taken over about a month after your department produced a 5-year policy with the aim of improving sports facilities, increasing participation. Are you committed to pushing this through as it stands, or will you be wanting to put your own stamp on things?
I'm glad you asked that question, Jonathan, because when I came in, I did have in my first meeting with the permanent secretary as well as some of the officers, I said, well, which one of these is a priority for us? And I can tell you that, not to preempt a ministerial statement that will be coming in the next few weeks, at least one of those goals will be progressed before the end of this year. And I'm sure many of the public, especially national sports governing bodies, will be pleased to see that I am about action. I am about doing things where the community can be proud of the National Sports Center, as well as the sporting bodies that we have.
You mentioned it. It's my second one for you. You mentioned at least one goal. Since taking over, have you identified the top of the list in terms of what priorities are, top 3?
I don't think that my priorities should be the top of anyone's list. I've spoken to many of the managers of the departments. I'm getting around to speaking to many of the sports. I mean, it was a wonderful event that I went to on Saturday night, Women on Formation. And at that event, there were many different individuals and I would say board members from many different sports. And everyone believes that their priority should be at the top of the list. So we'll sit down and we'll see how we can afford assistance to the most individuals with the budgets and everything else that we have in mind. But I don't think my list of priorities should be the focus. It's the list of priorities that are good for Bermuda.
You've mentioned that in the last few weeks you met with governing bodies. I guess when can we expect to hear some of the details, the mechanisms that are being put in place to achieve these goals with the new sports policy?
In the next few weeks, you will see a few ministerial statements that will be made, and you will see how we are progressing and how we intend to start to putting those in place. But you know, with a policy of that, I mean, we're not gonna do everything overnight.
I got you.
But there is a clear plan, I can assure you that.
Number 4 from me would be Minister Keats revealed that some discussions had taken place regarding the launch of a lottery initiative in order to boost the proposed national sports strategy policy. The policy it's aimed at replicating Florida Duffy's historic gold medal success, a greater investment pumped into athletes. Open-endedly, is this something you support, and are you moving it forward?
I have not been briefed on that strategic initiative yet, but anything, if we can go out and partner with individuals to assist our top athletes, or all athletes in Bermuda, I think it's a good thing. So it'll be, I guess, a little premature for me to speak on specific strategies and initiatives of which you speak about, but I can tell you that anything that is going to take place to increase the involvement of top athletes in Bermuda, I am all for that.
Is it possible to tease out if that's going to be one of the ones that we're going to be hearing about soon?
Stand by and I'll let you know.
Thank you, Minister.
Have any questions from
Yes, good afternoon, Ciola Wilson, Bermuda Real. Mr. Darrell, congratulations on your appointment. I noticed you stated that you're not too hip on the political side, but hard on the heels of your appointment. There was much talk in social media circles that you were fast-tracked to become a non-elected cabinet minister as part of David Bart's friends and family clique. What do you say?
Well, as I would say to you, Ms. Wilson, in social circles that I have all the time, I find that assertion to be rather offensive, because what it does, it tends to disregard and disrespect all of the work that I have done over my career before I became into politics, and I also takes away the hard work that I have done in supporting the role that I've had. And if it is the desire of the leader of the Progressive Labour Party and the Premier, through constitutional rights, to appoint me as the leader of the Senate, that would be a discussion I think you should have with him.
And you've been in politics for how long now?
Well, as I said on a previous interview, there are two different forms of politics, as you would know. There's back when
Involved in the Senate since when?
I was appointed to the Senate in 2020.
So in 2 years you're a minister, will you admit that's pretty fast?
No, because if you would know, Ms. Wilson, the previous minister had no previous political experience, and he also was appointed to the Senate as
So
cabinet.
now we have two of you? Your department made history during this transition. Any comment on the fact that the first female director was appointed?
Absolutely. I did meet with Ms. Kim Sharice Bean this morning, and we have seen that the ministry did put out a statement, I think on Monday, when she did assume her role. She's been acting for a few months now. She's been at that department in different roles for a few years, and I am pleased to see that, not just because she's a female, but because of her work ethic, she has been appointed as the director of youth and sport.